The judge did declare a mistrial on the first count, which was the count of murder. So mistrial on the murder charge and the count of reckless homicide. They have found the former deputy guilty.
Yeah, first full day of deliberations here for this jury, and back and forth really for a lot of the day. There's a lot of emotion in that courtroom. They came back, they asked questions, they took breaks, they took lunch, they came back, had some more questions back and forth. The judge even sent them back in, issuing a Howard charge, telling them to try harder when they said that it was impossible to come to a verdict. But they went back in and they did come to a conclusion for the reckless homicide charge.
We have Kevin Landers and Lacey Chris. We're at the courthouse. We're going to check in with Kevin Landers. He has been there throughout the duration of the day. Kevin, are you joining us live now? Can you hear me? There we go. Kevin?
Yep. I can hear you. A couple of interesting points that Mark Collins made for Jason Meade. First of all, this is a felony 3, which Mark Collins argued has no presumption of prison time, and he tried to argue with the judge not to revoke the bond to allow his client to be released and back home. And the judge obviously said, we're not going to do that. We're going to revoke his bond. It's interesting to note when you think back of this case, this started in December of 2020 when the shooting happened, when 23-year-old Casey Goodson lost his life in this shooting. Obviously a victory for the family who have been waiting for this verdict since the very beginning. So clearly they're smiling while the other side is not at this point. When you look back at this case, this started when Jason Meade was working a fugitive task force not involving Casey Goodson, but he says he saw Goodson waving his gun, and that's when Meade began to follow Goodson back to his grandmother's house. And then this is where the case gets interesting. Meade says, Goodson turned towards him with a gun, and then the shooting happened. The grandmother at the time said that Casey Goodson actually had a sandwich in his hand and keys, and did not see him turn around and fire that weapon. We were interested to see whether or not this case was going to go to potentially a third trial, because we've had 2 hung juries before. And then the question was this going to go to a third? And I actually talked to Ron O'Brien, the longest serving prosecutor in Franklin County history, who said it's certainly rare, but it wasn't unprecedented that it was possible that they could have gone to a third trial if this would have come back hung. But that is not the case anymore. We have a guilty verdict, and now we move on. The question now is for Mark Collins and the Meade team, will they appeal this case? And at this point, we don't know. Still very fresh after just minutes of hearing this guilty verdict. So that's what we'll have to be following as this case progresses. But clearly, both sides, there's a winner and a loser in a case like this. And we'll have to see how this all plays out as the legal part of this case continues, because, as I mentioned, Mark Collins had asked that his client be able to post bond so he can go home, but the judge eventually ruled that is not the case. Back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Yeah, the back and forth. Yeah, well, the back and forth also for both sides, because not being able to come to a verdict and being sent back in and then coming out with a verdict on one of the counts right there. Also, we can take you back outside the courthouse right now. Libby Cathy is there outside the courthouse. This is all fresh news. Libby, just coming out for the guilty verdict on one count there and the mistrial on the murder charge.
That's right, Jeff, and we are right here outside the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, waiting for some of those family members and people on both sides of this case to come out and react to this for the first time. So we will be out here to receive them. So far, it's pretty quiet out here, but we're very eager to hear from those. And I know our Lacey Crisp, who has been all over this case, is inside the courtroom right now and may be seeing more of it, but I could hear just from our stream crying inside of that courtroom. So obviously a very emotional reaction to this verdict. And I believe Lacey Crisp, who has been all over this, has more inside right now. Lacey?
Yeah, you guys can about imagine the emotion in that courtroom. We had about a 10-minute warning before the jury was brought back in. All the family members gathered in the courtroom. We had all the attorneys there. We had 6 Franklin County Sheriff's deputies there to keep order in the courtroom. Jason Meade's wife was standing up, rocking back and forth. Tamala Payne was sitting just a couple feet away from me. She was flanked by the family attorney, Sean Walton, and her pastor, Young, and she was was crying. She was holding their hands, and tears released from Tamala Payne as that guilty verdict was read. Now, we don't know what happens next with the case. We know that the judge said that he has revoked the bond. His attorney, Mark Collins, will likely ask for another hearing here in a couple of weeks to talk about that bond, to talk about a sentencing date. And to see they declared a mistrial in the murder charge, which is interesting. So we'll have to wait and see kind of what happens here. But we're waiting to have some of the members of the family and some representatives of the Fraternal Order of Police talk to us. So as soon as they come in and they're ready, we'll have that information for you. Reporting live, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.